For the first transcription exam, you'll have two tasks. One is to fill in a vowel chart and a consonant chart with all of the symbols that we're going to be learning over the course of the semester. And then the second part of it will be transcribing simple words using the basic symbols that we started the class with, for example, in that Lab 0. So here I'm recording an example of that for your reference. In filling in the vowel chart, I tend to start up here with the high front group that we'll learn about in the second unit. Our first vowel is a regular lowercase letter I, the E sound, like in the word beast, to give it a context. Next we have the small capital I for the I sound. Bist doesn't get me a word, but bit is fairly similar using that vowel. Next we have A written with a regular letter E, like in based. Next we have with the epsilon symbol, which would be in best in regular spelling. And then the ash digraph, kind of an AE connected together. Bast isn't a word, but bat would be a word. And bass would also be a word, but the spelling of that would be ambiguous between bass and bass, so won't put that down. Going up the back, we have computer trying to be helpful, and not a lowercase handwritten A, so try that again, like that-ish. Bost isn't a word, but that would be in bot. Aw, like a backward C called the open O, would be in boss. O would be in boast. That's probably one where the symbol and the sound are fine with y'all. Would not be in anything with BST, but in put, for example, would be about as close as I can get. And then oo would be in boost. Then we have the slightly more complicated ones in the middle. Inside the dotted box that's marked rounded, we have our so that would be in burst, like my appendix. And then we have another version of that we're going to learn about at the beginning of the second unit. Similarly, we have our which would be in bust. And another sound is a schwa that you may have seen before, that again we'll use when we get to more complicated words. And then last but not least, we have a blank for the other way of writing a letter A, like a typeface A, that is used for the diphthongs, which we're supposed to indicate with arrows, which is the thing people forget the most. We have I, like in bite, can't put an S in there, beist isn't a word. We have ow, like in bout, as in, a round of boxing or something like that, or a boxing match called a bout, maybe. And then we have oi, which is in boy, but we can't stick an S or a T on that and still have a word. But anyway, some example words with roughly similar contexts using all those vowels. In the consonant chart, we have all of our stops, P and B, T and D, K and which would be familiar just from spelling, as well as the glottal stop that we'll talk about in the third unit. In the fricatives, we have F and V, which are familiar, but then we have our th and our the, which are our two different TH sounds. The one on the left with no phonation, to use the anatomy term, the one on the right with phonation, and those are some of the challenging ones. We have S and Z, and then we have this kind of tall S that descends below the line, and the Z with a tail on it. The tall S is our sh sound, usually spelled SH, and the Z with the tail is the zh sound that we don't use a lot. At the end of beige is maybe the most common word I can think of. And then finally we have H, which does what you think it will. In the affricates, we have a two-symbol combination, our ch, commonly spelled CH, and our j, commonly spelled with a J. In the nasals, we have our very familiar M and N, M and N, but we also have the ng that is part of our ing words that there are a lot of in English. That would be transcribed as indicated here with the small cap I and the ing to get us that ing sound that's at the ends of lots of things. In the tap flap column, we have this kind of odd R without the extra little thing at the top, but with an extra little thing at the bottom to clarify the difference between it and a letter R that we will talk about later. In our liquids, we have L and R, which mostly do what you think they would do. And in our glides, we have W, which appears in two places because of its articulation that uses both the lips and the tongue. And then our y, usually spelled with a letter Y, but the lowercase j symbol in the International Phonetic Alphabet, because lots of languages represent it that way. And those are our complete charts. No arrows required in the consonants. Alright, and then the third part would be 5 simple words. For the actual exam, I would repeat them 3 times and then wait for about a minute total time per word for you all to transcribe. I won't have all that dead time here in the recording. So, for example, we might have food, 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 which might be a little hard to hear on a microphone, so looking at my face when we're doing the exam might be helpful because that F sound is kind of quiet. That would be transcribed as f, oo, and duh. Next word we could have cheap, 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 which would be spelled like that. And for your actual exam, you can feel free to write regular spellings or other things outside of the slashes. All I'm going to look at for grading purposes will be what's inside of the slashes, which in the case of cheap is our ch, our e vowel, and our p. Next, we might have lash, lash, lash. Regular spelling like that, which would be ul, our a vowel, and sh consonant. Fourth, we might have might, might, might. This word actually also spelled this way, which would be the m and I diphthong and the t. And then finally, example comb, 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 which would be spelled like that. But that letter C is the K sound, transcribed with a K. And in fact, in the transcription of English, we don't ever use the letter C. So if you happen to, by mistake, that is always going to be incorrect. O in comb gives us a regular old O. And then at the end of comb, we have an M, but despite the spelling, we don't have a B. It's not comb, it's just comb. Alright, so 5 relatively common, relatively simple words using a variety of our standard vowels and consonants.